Okay, guys, so today we are here. We got Apple, Amazon earnings at the closing bell today. Let me get some music playing. We got the Figma IPO that happened maybe like a few hours ago, hour and 20 minutes ago. Let me know if the music is loud enough. Yeah, we got Apple, Amazon earnings dropping after the closing bell today. We're going to cover these. Yeah, we're here. Do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We appreciate it. We got 40 minutes. Let's put a timer up here. Let me see if I can find a better place for the timer with my new setup. Again, we got about 38.5 minutes until the market closes. Here's the closing bell. I think it's probably just best right here. All right, guys, we have some interesting action. Meta finally pulled it back. You know, hit 784s this morning. Back down to 770s here. Microsoft kind of dipping down some, to be honest, as well. Microsoft all the way down to 533s after the open, and pretty red opening bell. Apple's kind of flat on the day if you take a look at the previous close. Apple's purely sideways leading into their earnings report. All right, we'll put what Apple is expecting. Apple reports quarter 3 earnings after the bell. Analysts expect EPS around $1.43 a share. Revenue of $89.3 billion. You can see Amazon down to 233s right now. Yeah, we want to listen to see if we should pay attention to any tariff impacts from these earnings, CapEx spending on AI, and more kind of what you want to watch and listen to. But yeah, Microsoft's market cap hit $4 trillion, joining Nvidia for another company over 4T. Figma shares are up 242%, $84. Where did they IPO at? I mean, I guess it depends on where the shares started. I only see it got up to 116, but I know it probably debuted a little bit earlier than that. What was the IPO price? Shares were marketed $30 to $32 a share. Yeah, okay, so that's, yeah, hundreds of percent for Figma. You can see it at the right here. They still got the old emblem, but this is Figma right here on the bottom right. $32. Apple, Amazon do good. Vote on the poll. So right now, 72% are bullish. You know, we had a really bullish response to earnings yesterday after the FOMC meeting. It was much more hawkish or fearful than expected. Yeah. Why is the market dumping today? Any news? I don't know. I think the market's up a lot. It broke all-time highs yesterday, and this was after the Fed, Jerome Powell, was much more hawkish than a lot of people expected him to be. And so I think with all that said, I think... yeah, I think the market's gonna correct sometimes. You know, I don't think it needs to go straight up. The Nasdaq, S&P have been breaking all-time highs. If you take a look at NQ, we had Robinhood, Carvana, and more. Nasdaq's pretty red on the day. It closed yesterday at 23,662. It's at about 23,004. A little bit under that actually for the Nasdaq. So I don't know what Apple's going to do on the upside. I hope it goes up. I tend to like Apple as a company, especially long term. But as I always tell people, I'm not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose money. No idea what's going to happen with Apple. So just trade smart. Yeah, and breaking news today ahead of this, Boeing sends new contract offer to Machinist Union in the St. Louis area. Mexican President Sheinbaum says agreement reached with the president safeguards USMCA. He says we have the best deal possible. Investing in Mexico is the best option. Our strategy worked. Shell says looking forward to LNG Canada train 2 starting up over the next few months. Is this a Christmas song already, guys? I don't know why they're playing Christmas songs for me. Let me know if the music's loud enough. Let me know my voice is loud enough. Apple's still breaking down a little bit. You can see the previous closing price on Apple, which let's talk about some levels on Apple to watch for this IPO. The first level that I'm looking at specifically that we actually just broke under on Apple is this previous closing price right here, 209.05, a very relevant milestone level right here. This light blue line, if you can see it on the chart, that is the previous closing price. It slits right through it. We're very choppy today. I mean, we have this like rectangular range for Apple, but with that said, you know, that 209 level, I would just look at 209 if it was me. 209.5 cents doesn't make much of a difference, and it's a whole dollar. But when you look at Apple's all-time highs, we're way up here at 260s. We've got some resistance levels to pay attention to. You got 225, 250 up here, and then 260 up here. So I think those levels to watch if we really make a big run from this. But I think up close, 209 previous closing price, the high of the last few days. The high of yesterday is at about 212s, 213s, and if we put a 15-minute chart up, I would watch this 215 level here. If we get a good reaction to earnings, that 215 level seems to make sense to watch as well, just in terms of like a, you know, big confirmed level. If we're looking at below us here, the low of the last few days, which is the low of yesterday's after-hour session, is at 207.39 right here. And I think if you look at the rectangular range on a 15-minute chart, this is actually the bottom of this range as well. You know, you could also probably look at 210, another kind of psychological level, but the low of the last little while, 206 is a previous all-time high as well if you want to pay attention to it. And so you could watch that as well. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at for Apple. Let me know any levels that you're specifically watching for Apple. If we take a look at rate cut odds since yesterday's meeting, September currently is at about a 40 to 60% likelihood of a pause versus a cut. 60% chance of a cut in September, 40% chance of 40% chance of a cut, 60% chance of a pause. October is looking like about 47%, the most probable odds for a 25 basis point cut, 14% for a 50 basis point cut, and almost 40% for a pause again in October. December, only a 17% chance that we're not going to get a cut by December. But again, these are always subject to change. You know, a few days ago before the Fed meeting, this a cut in September was almost, you know, it was like 65%. And so this has changed from the FOMC meeting. We expect any rate cuts in 2025? Well, yeah, I mean, at this point in time, there's about an 85% chance, 83% chance that we'll get a cut of some sort this year in 2025. But that's always subject to change based off of economic reports and data. So, and again, the big earnings that dropped yesterday, taking a look at Amazon in the same way, talking about levels here. Amazon's been on a beautiful trend up. If you take a look at this, you know, going all the way back to May, Amazon has just ripped up from 170s to 240s. You know, if we take a look at a long-term trend on Amazon all-time highs are 240, 250s. We're at 233, so we're only about $10 away. So Amazon actually has a pretty big chance to break all-time highs if it does well with this earnings report. Apple, you know, tariffs delay AI rollouts been kind of in the rumors for Apple. You know, most analysts still bullish. Visible Alpha shows 9 out of 11 analysts rate Apple a buy with a consensus target of 235, which is 12% upside from the 209 close. And again, we're watching 209. Now here's the 209 close. Option traders expect a 4% implied volatility move higher or lower post earnings from approximately $200 to $217. For Apple, again, an implied volatility move of about 4% higher or lower. from anywhere between $200 up to $217 based on pricing of around $209. That's roughly twice Apple's average 2% post-earnings swing over the past 4 quarters, which tended to go down for Apple. But it doesn't mean it's going to go down today. You want to listen to Apple regarding AI strategy, particularly around Apple Intelligence. Tariff exposure is a big story. I know Pawn mentioned this earlier, but whether tariffs are going to be impacting Apple is going to be a huge story for the day. And strength in iPhone sales and service revenue is always important, with iPhone being, their biggest product. Analysts expect good fundamentals still. Volatility is high, though. Again, it's about twice as much implied volatility potential for today's release versus average for Apple. Direction hinges on tariff clarity and progress in AI. Yeah, we'll see. Bullish or bearish for today's earnings is a big question. Are we bull or bear on today's earnings? I think you go either way, honestly. You never really know with this type of stuff. We got the Figma IPO in the background. You can see Figma here. Also dropping today, we have MicroStrategy, Coinbase, Reddit, Cloudflare, Riot, Roku, First Solar, and more. So we got a bunch of earnings dropping right at the closing bell today. But specifically Apple, Amazon, MicroStrategy, Coinbase, Riot, Roku, First Solar, RKT, which is Rocket, Striker, KLA, Lumen. Honestly, a lot. We got a lot of stuff out today. INOD. Yeah, I mean, INOD is a pretty good trend. It was at about $13 in October. It's now at $55 a share, roughly $54 a share. So INOD is doing pretty well. I don't know much about this as a company, but it looks like it's doing pretty solid. And then again, we got payrolls tomorrow, non-farm payrolls and unemployment data tomorrow. So that's actually a pretty big report, a pretty big release dropping tomorrow as well to end off the week here. A busy week. We also got Michigan consumer sentiment data and more tomorrow. So tomorrow we have unemployment, non-farm payrolls, hourly wages, S&P manufacturing PMI, ISM services, Michigan consumer sentiment. We got Boston going on live at 10:30 as well. And then next week we got like Palantir earnings and more. So a lot of stuff going on. And then in the month of August we have like the Jackson Hole Symposium with Jerome Powell. Fig is still pushing up. It might be breaking these highs. Almost the 116s, 117s for Fig. Amazon bull, Apple bear. I had to take a couple shots of tequila for me to stay in my option with Amazon. Really good tech and financial, a bit overextended, but we'll continue to ride the AI wave. Reddit is gonna fly later. See you at Mars. We'll see D. Possible. I mean, we're in the middle of summer. The end of July. We're kind of in the middle of the slow part of the year. But things have been moving anyway. We've had so much different stuff. But yeah. And then next week's kind of slow, but then the week after that we got like CPI and PPI inflation and more. Reddit has helped Meta and Google earnings. We have bad numbers, the market will tank really bad. Yeah, but I don't think much tech has had bad earnings in the last like year. Even when we get negative reactions to some of this stuff, a lot of the time like Apple, Amazon, Meta, Tesla, they're coming in better than expected in a lot of ways. Now growth might slow for earnings, but a lot of these are coming in like better than expected in a lot of ways. Guidance might slow, that might impact it. Margins impacted, but yeah, might be doing some earnings pump, but indices are going to continue to fall into the weekend. I think tomorrow's unemployment labor report plus all the other economic reports we got dropping tomorrow morning, they're going to have an influence over how we close this week. Obviously we break at all-time highs in the NASDAQ, Meta's broken all-time highs, Microsoft's broken all-time highs, and more. But I think how we do for tomorrow's economic reports is going to obviously influence how we close. If we get low payroll numbers and a hawkish Powell, with a hawkish Powell this week, then it might turn us the other way. But at the same time, low payroll numbers might also signal earlier rate cuts. Unemployment going in higher might signal earlier rate cuts. We don't really know how the market is going to respond to stuff, but it's interesting nonetheless. Again, Figma's starting to head up. It's at almost 116. This is a recent IPO. A lot of people have been talking about it. The only company that had bad earnings this week was STX and Spotify and Roblox. Ferrari surprised me. I didn't know it was down until I checked my portfolio. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to buy Ferrari stock. It's really volatile. Big range. It's gone from 520 down to 420. Lost about, what is that, like 25%? A little bit less than 25%. Was this like 21, 22% down from its earnings report back on the 25th? So, in a percentage, Ferrari's down. Oh, my math is way off. 16%. I mean, it hit 430s. So, really is about 17.5%, but about 20% down. Which is just a big range for... Yeah, I was up, now negative, but I'm holding the bag. Hey, good luck, brother. Again, y'all do me a favor. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We appreciate it. Let's keep the growth up. One more time. Tesla, on the other hand, is all the way down to 311s, 310s right now. Big decrease from the earnings report dropped them. They were almost at 340s prior to earnings coming out, and then they dropped all the way to 310s. Big still climbing up. FIG stock. Amazon after the bell. Amazon earnings. So this is how it works, right? So Amazon and Apple earnings both drop after the closing bell. Usually about an hour later from the earnings coming out, they have their earnings call, right? So like Apple drops their earnings, technically it's scheduled for 4:30, but it really could be released anytime. So like Apple earnings are technically at 4:30 is when they're scheduled to come out, and that's when we'll get the EPS revenue, the full report. The actual call is scheduled for about an hour after that. Apple's earnings call specifically is 5 p.m. Eastern time today. So Amazon's hate it when they put it in Pacific time. Amazon's is at 5 as well, so they're both at 5 o'clock for the earnings call. But Amazon's technically supposed to come out right at the closing bell at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's in 22 minutes for Amazon, 21 minutes. Apple, on the other end, could release anytime between 4 p.m. Eastern and 4:30. Technically, it's scheduled for 4:30. Really, it could come in after that, but again, it's less likely. All right, so the dollar index did end slightly green on the day, not by much, but slightly green. The Japanese yen is down, even though they paused, but with a little bit more hawkish sentiment for the Bank of Japan. Yeah, the dollar index slightly green. Yeah, Amazon implied volatility. I know we talked a lot about Apple. Amazon's expected at 133 EPS, total revenue or 162.2 bill. Amazon Web Services revenue is projected up 17%, ad revenue up 14 to 17%. Analyst sentiment is broadly bullish. UBS raised the price target at 271, 18% upside, while other firms project average targets in the low 250s. Amazon's sitting at 230s right now. A lot of eyes for Amazon's earnings report are going to be on AWS performance, especially in cloud growth versus Microsoft. It's going to be under scrutiny. Many believe much of the AI-fueled optimism is priced in already for Amazon specifically, and so Amazon's big AI and infrastructure plan, which is valued at over $100 billion in 2025, might weigh on their margins short term, and so some people do expect that as well. Again, on both of these stocks, we're going to be looking for tariff-related impacts, right? Like, how are tariffs impacting Amazon? How are tariffs impacting Apple? Are they more resilient tech, or are these tariffs going to have more of a short-term negative impact? is what you want to listen for as well for this report. And again, we're going to cover all this stuff when they drop, as well as MicroStrategy and more. Again, Amazon is close enough to recent highs. Recent all-time highs on Amazon, again, at 239.50. Let me make sure that's right. Or 242.50s, I'm sorry. Recent all-time high. Last time Amazon broke that was in January. So it's a longer-term all-time high as well. So again, 242. So Amazon's all-time high are right around... What is it? 242.50, right around here. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. 242.52. So yeah, Amazon's all-time highs right here. And so Amazon, if it does well, even though it gapped up a little bit from Meta and Microsoft sympathy yesterday, if Amazon does well, it could fly over its all-time high level. So a lot of people are going to be watching for that. And Amazon originally reacted negatively with a lot of other stuff from earnings, but it's starting to creep back up a little bit. You know, it's at 234.30s right now, 234, almost 235. So it's starting to kind of creep up. It's starting to make moves on the upside. Yeah, Coinbase also releases today. So does MicroStrategy. So does Reddit. So does Riot. So does Roku. I'm looking at tech mostly, but a lot of big companies release at the closing bell today. We'll see what that looks like too. NASDAQ at 23.4s, broke all-time highs yesterday and early this morning, broke all-time highs. New all-time highs on the NASDAQ are 23,845. We're currently at 23,400 roughly for the NQ, so about $440 per dollar away from all-time highs on the NQ. Or the NDX, whatever you want to call it. NASDAQ 100. Yeah, and so a lot of people are looking at this. Apple is at 208.70s. Apple's a little bit more flat today. You know, I think Apple's had a really obvious range to trade. And again, if I'm looking at a level, previous close out 209, this 206 level was a big support or resistance area. If you're looking short term, 210 might either support it or reject it. But longer term levels, you know, I'm looking at the top of this big range here. If we put a daily chart up, a lot of support's been right here, 220s maybe, 215, 220. A lot of resistance, a lot of support at those areas too. So 210 I think makes sense as well if we're looking at more recent than that. Even 210 here, lows at this. What were the lows of? Yeah, the lows of pre-market. 207.39, right there. We're looking at that as well. Apple's starting to creep up. Figma just broke the highs of the day and the all-time highs again since it IPO today. It's almost up to 120 a share for Fig. Fig up to almost 120 a share. You think I look like Jack Harlow, bro? Me? You think I look like Jack Harlow, bro? How dare you? I got the curly hair. How dare you? Okay. Jack Harlow. That hurts right here, man. That hurts right here. Never say that again. All right, look at Figma below me right here. Look at Figma starting to run. Figma starting to run. Just broke highs at almost 120. It hit 119s just now. 119s. I like Ferraris too, but I don't like Ferrari stock, bro. You know? I have a Samsung, but I like Apple stock. I like Ferraris, but I'm not buying Ferrari stock, brother. All right, the current administration said they're going to expand price support for U.S. rare earth projects, according to Reuters, citing sources. Price support for MP materials was not a one-off and will be extended to other companies as well. All right, guys, 15 minutes. do Stranger Things. I'm ready for Stranger Things to end. They're going to be 40 by the time it's over. Some of them might be 40. Hopper's probably 80 at this point in time. You know? Yeah, Figma right here. Not a Figma for your imagination. It's up to 120 right now. Almost 120 at 119.40. I know it's a terrible dad joke. You're welcome. I'll give you guys some jokes. Apple rejecting at that 200 exponential here. Yeah, if we take a look at Apple, that 200 exponential right here has been moving it. Bitcoin about to crack lows. Yeah, I don't mess with IPOs. I really don't. Bitcoin under the previous closing price. The Bitcoin a little red on the day, even though it gapped up a lot this morning after everything else broke all-time highs. Got all the way back up to almost 120, but then it got rejected. It's now at 117.6. Yeah, MicroStrategy, Coinbase also close. Also release earnings. Look at Apple turn. On the 208.30s for Apple. Does Apple beat or miss, guys? I would put as expected for one, but Figma hit 119.86. It looks like it's going to break 120. 120 psychological level. A lot of people paying attention to as well here. You want to vote on our poll? We got a poll live on x.com at beginner trades. We did break 4,000 followers yesterday. There's the poll if you want to vote on it. Apple's guidance going to be bad. We did a poll asking about today's earnings, Apple and Amazon. 69% were bullish, 31% were bearish. Again, Amazon's scheduled to release right at the closing bell in 11 minutes. Apple is technically scheduled for 30 minutes past that. 30 minutes after that, Apple's supposed to drop. Again, technically Apple's supposed to drop 30 minutes after the close. But man, look at Apple turn. Look at this level. I don't know where this level came from. I just have it on my chart. 207.90. Watch this bounce right there. I don't even know where it came from. I just drew it. Level right here. Will we bounce at my random level I have on the chart? Figma broke 124. It's got up to almost 125s. That at 50K? Getting ready for today? Nothing's released yet unless it's morning earnings. Will we bounce it by level, guys? Apparently, yes, we will. We bounce like 20 cents. Levels work, guys. Levels work. Doesn't mean we're going to hold. We might continue down, but look, we made a pit stop at my level here. Where do we bounce? Exactly at my level. Random level, too. I don't even know what the level is. But look at that. Yeah, we just bounced 30 cents there. That's why I got to start scalping my levels. I don't know where they come from. Sometimes they're mysterious, like this one. Who knows when I drew this level? But it worked. Doesn't mean it's going to hold. But, you know, 30 cents or so is 30 cents. If you can figure out where it's going to make a little pit stop, it can be powerful. All right, guys, we got about 10 minutes left until the closing bell. And again, Amazon drops right at the close at 4 p.m. Probably from last earnings. I don't know where this level came from. Still bouncing at it, though. Now we're finally breaking underneath it. Figma's still pushing up. I'm very mixed on Aapl, but bullish on Amazon. I bought yesterday Meta when Powell was talking and sold $3 less than the high. I bought 15 shares. That's good. Market on close just came across. Yeah. Aapl just broke down under the level. All right, so Amazon at 234.50s. Figma's still pushing him. Yeah, Figma's running. It really is. Again, we got about 8 minutes left until until Amazon drops. All right, so Aapl investors, this is what I want to tell you. Aapl investors, you can expect potential strength in services in iPhone, but concerns about tariffs and slower than expected AI might drive volatility downward. Apple's much farther away from its all-time highs, so we don't really have that dynamic, like that magnet dynamic with it as much. And so that's something you want to look for. A miss or weak outlook could push shares out of $200 range, which is a psychological level, which we're kind of bending towards now. You know, we're at 207, 206, but it's very possible we got a bad earnings report for Apple. It dumps under 200. And it can happen quickly just because of all the stuff going on, while an upbeat could push it towards, 220. 215s, 220s. It's possible. Figma just broke highs again. New highs on Figma, 124.63. Now with Amazon, people are looking for another beat to extend the streak. Amazon's on a streak of beats for its earnings. Even with solid numbers, though, without a strong margin outlook, ahead-looking commentary with guidance, specifically with AI and cloud expansion, they might already be priced. We might not get too big of a movement, but we do have the dynamic that we're close to highs for Amazon. Amazon is close to all-time highs. All-time highs on Amazon are right here. But we do have all-time highs on Amazon. They're right here at 242.50s. So we do have that dynamic of all-time highs with it. I like Apple long-term, so I'm usually always willing to buy some Apple and DCA into it, but short-term, you never know. Apple PE ratio currently, just to take a look at like valuations, and just to take a look at like the PE is price to earnings ratio, so it's basically how many times the earnings is the price. Under 30 is good. The trailing 12-month PE ratio for Apple is currently at about 32.5. Forward PE is under 30 at 28. So Apple seems to be reasonably priced in terms of PE ratios where it's at now. And this is with Apple given a share price of 209.69, and actually a little bit below that now. So that dynamic might be a little bit better. Amazon's PE ratio is about 37 to 38 times. So a little bit higher, a little bit less, The forward PE for Amazon is also in the mid-30s, 36 to 38 range. The 12-month average PE for Amazon is 41, and so it's well below its long-term historical mean for Amazon, just to put this into perspective. That suggests the company's trading at a relative premium to traditional peers, but at a discount compared to its own average of, the last 12 months. Yeah, the 10-year mean on Apple's 22 to 23, and so it's trading at a premium valuation relative to its 10-year mean average. All right, guys, getting a pullback in FIG, getting a pullback in the NASDAQ. Pull back in Tesla. Pull back in Apple. Versus a lot of other stuff right now. But again, remember, Amazon is going to drop right at the close. All right, guys, be ready. 4 minutes left. 4 minutes. Again, Amazon technically is supposed to drop right at the closing bell at 4 p.m. Like right at the close at 4 p.m. So yeah, Amazon could drop like right. It's supposed to technically drop right at 4 p.m. It could drop a little bit later. But again, Amazon technically scheduled to drop right at 4 p.m. right at the closing bell in about 3.5 minutes. Make sure you hit the live button next to the play button. Make sure you're fully caught up on stream. Apple were technically scheduled for 4:30, but it could have happened anytime prior to that. So Apple could always release early. All right, guys, we got about 3 minutes left. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate it. Remember, tomorrow we got non-farm payrolls and unemployment. We did a poll here on does Apple beat or miss their quarterly earnings. 81% think beat, 19.2% think miss on our poll here live as well. So yeah, and we're at beginner trades if anybody wants to follow me. Here we go. We got 2.5 minutes. I'll cry about it, James. You'll be all right, bro. I guess you are crying about it, but it's okay. 2 minutes left. 2 minutes. Figma's still trying to push almost the 125s. I would say like most people appreciate the music. I get more compliments on the music than I do, you know, anything else. My trading skill, you know. I mean, that's not that hard to do, but. All right, guys, we're at 207.50s. Apple's broken down significantly. Does big money know something? All right, here we go. Dude, my monitor just cut, like, just... I don't even want to speak that into the universe here, but let's stream. We got a minute and 20 seconds. Hit the live button next to the play button. I appreciate it. Give me your last minute predictions. Looking at our poll number, 72% of people are bullish on these earnings. 28% are bearish. I would say I'm bullish on Amazon, bearish on Apple. Based off of PE ratios, relative to all-time highs, implied volatility. But again, with earnings, it's just a straight up freaking guess. Nobody knows what we're gonna get here. I'm gonna cover every major earnings report that drops after the closing bell, just to put this into perspective. I'll cover every major one. Mag 7, if it's in the Mag 7, or if it's like a big stock like MicroStrategy, Mara, and more, I'm gonna cover it. We got 45 seconds left. Again, Amazon technically scheduled to release right at 4 p.m. So right in 40 seconds is when Amazon is technically scheduled to come out. We'll see what happens. Let's do this. Hit the live button next to the play button. If you put it in 2x or 1.5x speed, it should catch you up pretty quickly to everything. All right, let's watch. Here we go. This timer's a little early. Here we go. 15 seconds or so. All right, guys. 3, 2, 1, and here's the close. All right, there's the bell. Watch Amazon here. Other earnings that come out right at the closing bell. MicroStrategy is supposed to release right at the closing bell as well. We'll put that up instead of Fig. Nothing yet, though. All right, guys, we're 20 minutes after, or 20 seconds after the closing bell. Nothing big for earnings yet. You'll see when they move too. Nothing for MicroStrategy. First Solar. A couple other ones set to release. Amazon's supposed to drop right now, but nothing for Amazon yet. Maybe they're waiting for a minute to pass or so. All right, so there's the closing bell. We do have Apple pushing up a little bit. Okay, look at Amazon. Getting some volatility. Nothing from MicroStrategy yet. Okay, look at Amazon. Amazon, rip it up. Just broke recent highs. Now it's coming back down. Let's see if Amazon's out. Again, like I said, I thought Amazon would beat, personally. I thought Amazon would beat. Amazon earnings are out. They posted second quarter EPS of 168 versus 133. Net sales of 167.7 versus 162 expected. Amazon Web Services net sales of 30.87. But yeah, Amazon, again, second quarter EPS of 168 versus 133 expected. Way better than expected. Amazon tapped all-time highs, didn't quite break it here. So yep, that's Amazon earnings. We're gonna look at the other ones now. Again, Amazon earnings, we'll put these up on screen. Amazon posted second quarter net sales 167.7 billion versus 162 billion for revenue or sales. Amazon web net sales 30.87 versus 30.77, better than that expected as well. See third quarter revenue at 174 versus 179 174 to 179.5 versus 173 expected. So good guidance for revenue or sales for Amazon for the third quarter. Amazon's still reacting negatively to this though. It's still early. We do have some movement in MicroStrategy. See if we can find it here, but we do have some movement in MicroStrategy. Again, Amazon's out. I don't think MicroStrategy's out yet. Yeah, I don't see anything. Strategy sees fiscal year EPS of $80 a share based on 150,000 Bitcoin outlook. The MicroStrategy might be out. Okay, so MicroStrategy is out. Give me a second. But MicroStrategy posted 14 billion operating income in quarter two. All right, record net income of 10 billion and EPS of 32.60. Again, so MicroStrategy's out. Amazon's starting to rebound back up. MicroStrategy is now holding 628,791 Bitcoin worth of $46 billion. Average cost of Bitcoin 73,000. Second quarter Bitcoin gain is 9.5 billion. Year-to-date Bitcoin gain is 13.2 billion for MicroStrategy. We also had earnings release. Again, I'll put Strategy's numbers up as well as Amazon's first. But we're putting both of these in the chat right now as we speak. Yeah, we got Aapl earnings dropping after. Aapl at 4:30. But again, I'll put these numbers up on screen. Here's Amazon's numbers right here. I'll put MicroStrategy's up on screen. We're still waiting for other ones. And give me a second, I'll find them. No, their earnings are... There's MicroStrategy earnings. Second quarter EPS 32.60 versus 12-cent loss expected. Revenue of 114.9 versus 112.65. So better than expected EPS and revenue. We also have First Solar releasing their numbers as well. Kind of a low reaction here. Let me see if I can find Reddit. Give me a second. I don't see Reddit's yet. Yeah, again, I don't see Reddit's yet. Has Reddit moved? A little bit. Not a huge amount, though. They're starting to react negatively, so if Reddit's out, it could be out right now. Yeah, I don't see Reddit's numbers yet, so we're still waiting on them. Striker, we did have Striker and First Solar, and we're going to put all the numbers out for earnings that we see coming out in chat right now as we speak. So, there's Striker. Yeah, give me a little while. We're looking. Okay, Reddit is out. Actually, Reddit just came out. Reddit posted 500 million revenue, grew 780% to 500 million. Give me a second. We will break all of this down for Reddit. But yeah, Reddit's out. Daily active users unique came in over 21% year-over-year growth to 110.4 million for Reddit. KLA posted 906, expected 854, revenue of 3.18. Again, 45 cents versus quarter 2 2024, up from a loss of 6 cents. So Reddit's actually profitable if they came in 45 cents. Yeah, 48 cents, beat 19-cent estimate. Here's Reddit right here. Amazon actually technically red on the day. MicroStrategy still up pretty big. There's Reddit right here. I don't see Coinbase out yet. Coinbase technically scheduled for 4:20. 13 minutes for coin. Apple starting to head up a little bit. Could be sympathy though. Look at MicroStrategy run. Oh. All right, so look at Apple pop. Apple up to 209.40s. MicroStrategy up. I don't think this is earnings for Apple, but it could be. See if Apple keeps popping. Apple up to 209s. I don't think Apple's out. All right, Amazon's still cracking lows, technically red on the day. MicroStrategy pulled back a little bit. So the SEC is launching the Project Crypto to bolster digital asset industry in the U.S. That came out noticeably earlier. I did see that news drop. Apple's at the bottom in yellow. Or Amazon's at the bottom in yellow. Apple's not out yet. Trust me, we're going to get Apple when it comes out. Just give me a little bit. We got to wait for it to drop. It's technically scheduled to drop at 4:30, 20 minutes. Coinbase technically scheduled for... Coinbase technically scheduled for 4:20 Eastern Standard Time. MicroStrategy's out. We put all the numbers in chat. Taking a look at Amazon here. Amazon quarter 3 sales guidance was better than expected. At 174 to 180 roughly. Quarter 3 sales guidance for Amazon versus 172.7 expected. So better than expected sales guidance for Amazon as well. Reddit's flying up right now too. On their earnings is up to almost 180 a share. Look at MicroStrategy break highs again. It's at 413s. Well, so far I was wrong regarding Amazon. Is Coinbase out yet? Yes, Coinbase is out. It's got to be with this downward trend. Unless it's down on the SEC crypto news. All right, Coinbase generating 1.5 billion in revenue, 1.4 billion in net income. Yeah, Coinbase is out. They posted a total revenue of 1.5 billion. They expected almost 1.6 billion. Total trading volume at 237 versus 252 expected for in billions. Transaction revenue 764 versus 810. They missed on almost everything for Coinbase. Coinbase missed on literally almost everything. You shared it to our x.com page at beginner trades if you want to earlier, like a deeper look at this. But yeah, Coinbase missed on almost everything. So Coinbase is now falling down pretty deeply. It's at 353, 352. It's dropping all the way down from 370s. So Coinbase is down what, like 5% right now from earnings. All right, so yeah, Coinbase 12-cent EPS for adjusted Q2 versus 135 expected. Sales of 1.497 versus 1.687 expected. Coinbase just a big miss for Coinbase. Mara out? Where's Mara? Mara's not out yet. What is Mara scheduled? Mara's scheduled. Or no, I'm not Mara. Riot is what I mean. Riot scheduled for 4:30. So Riot will come out around Apple. A lot of big crypto names today. Coinbase down to 350s. Yeah. You get NASDAQ slightly red from its earnings reports today. Again, so just to put this into perspective, right? Let's take a look. Coinbase down big after missing on almost everything for their earnings. Right below me right here. This is Coinbase right here. It is down very significantly after missing for almost everything. Fig IPO still popping up, broke 124s right before the closing bell, right under that 125 level. We're going to monitor that. MicroStrategy posted earnings. It's slightly green from its earnings report, although the last 2 or 3 minutes it started dipping down. MicroStrategy beat EPS, beat revenue. Good numbers, good Bitcoin holdings, good profit for MicroStrategy so far. We also had Reddit. Did really well, up to almost 180 after showing a profit for Reddit. So Reddit did show a profit. Reddit ended up posting 48-cent profit, beat the 19-cent estimates, and it's definitely better year over year versus a loss last year. It's the same number. Sales of 499.6, basically 500 million in sales versus 425 expected. So better than expected for Reddit. Reddit's gapping up pretty big on earnings. Anything else I'm missing for earnings? We got MicroStrategy, we got Coinbase, we got Reddit. Still waiting on some other ones, but that's basically all the big ones so far. We'll see what happens. All right, so Amazon still slightly red on the day after turning red after its earnings. You can see the all-time highs. Amazon almost broke all-time highs right there. Got very close. Apple slightly green. You can see the previous closing price for Apple right here at 209s roughly. Apple slightly green on the day. Got about 16 minutes left until earnings. About 16 minutes left. Amazon numbers were mostly better than expected. They also had better guidance than expected. So earnings and revenue rose, guidance rose, outlook rose. I don't know. Amazon had a little bit better PE than Apple, so it's probably a little bit more reasonably priced just based off of PE ratios, but you never know. Reddit tested the highs of the day, got rejected there again. Now it's retracing back up. Apple, again, slightly green on the day. Apple technically not scheduled to come out until 4:30 market time, 4:30. Amazon outlook saw third quarter sales at 174 to 180 billion, or 179.5 billion versus about 172.7 expected. So they did better than expected for Q3 sales guidance. I don't know what outlook is looking worse. Operating margin at 11.4%. Third quarter operating profit 15.5 to 20.5 billion. That might be dragging it down a little bit, but their revenue sales guidance was solid. Net income of 18.16 billion. Tariffs, maybe. Yeah, tariff headwinds. Okay, so I got this ring light, and my left eye has just been twitching and twitching. Maybe it's this ring light right here. That's possible. Really what I question is Bitcoin going up, or does it look that way because it's against the dollar? Are house prices really going up, or do they just look that way because of inflation? That's the same argument you're basically giving out. I mean, neither of those things is necessarily wrong. Like, yes, house prices are going up. Are they really because of inflation? Well, kind of, yes. Even when compared to inflation, house prices are rising, just to put it in perspective, especially relative to like the last 50 years. But I digress. Back to the point. I'm going to still use that argument. We got 13, 14 minutes left. Reddit just broke highs again, up to 185s, almost 185s. Been drinking water. Alright guys, 13 minutes until Apple's scheduled to release. Again, they could drop anytime. Amazon all the way down to 225s here. Reddit at 182s, almost 185s. The Bitcoin US dollar is a direct chart everyone, at least I listen to, uses. I mean, everything is relative to the US dollar in the United States. I could say, what's the banana US dollar price? But I'm talking about bananas being $3 a bundle. I don't even know what that's called. Again, what banana price at $3 a bundle is versus USD. That's what it is. You know, now I know you might actually see it when you look at crypto, but every price in the United States is relative to the US dollar, you know, or versus the US dollar, you know. I don't know. Yeah, I've been taking magnesiums. I don't know how much bananas are, to be honest. I don't do the grocery shopping in my household. Bushel for bananas? Yeah. Banana futures. Sign me up. Alright guys, 11 minutes. Still waiting for Apple. 11 minutes. Alright guys, still waiting here. Technically we got 11 minutes left. Will we get beats or misses here for Apple or Amazon earnings? I mean, we got beats for Amazon, but Amazon still ended up dropping from about 240 all the way down to 225. 220 is where it's at now. Apple incredibly sideways and choppy. Reddit beat. Coinbase beat. Or no, Coinbase missed everything, just to clarify. MicroStrategy beat. It's up. Reddit's up. Coinbase missed basically every single metric you could ever listen for in an earnings report. Coinbase came in lower than expected. Little sarcasm here, but I'm not really wrong either, I think. Not an investment professional. Don't copy me. But Amazon did pretty good. Good guidance. Good outlook. Amazon down to 224s versus 230, roughly at 235s prior to the earnings report releasing. Now, Amazon's technically scheduled for 4:30. So we still have about 10 minutes left until Apple is technically scheduled to release. But yeah. All right, guys, 9 minutes left. All right, guys, we're at 209.20s, 225s, 226 for Amazon. Let's see if we bounce back. Apple, again, put it in perspective. Apple today is expecting, the whispers on Apple is right around 142 a share, 88.5 billion in revenue for Apple. Apple's PE ratio, if we take a look at Apple currently, hold on. All right, I've been summarizing earnings reports pretty quick. I gotta scroll. Okay, Apple's PE ratio about 32.5, roughly. 32.5. It's trailing annual earnings per share. Forward PE for Apple's about 28x. The 10-year mean PE ratio is about 22 to 23 for Apple. So if we compare it to the 10-year mean for Apple, we're actually trading a little bit higher, a little bit at a premium versus the average, or not the average, but the mean 10-year PE ratio. So the price to earnings ratio on Apple, a little bit of a premium relative to where it normally runs. Amazon actually was a little bit, a good PE ratio is usually under 30. So both of these companies are a little elevated. Apple's about average right now. It's about 28 to 32. Amazon on the other end is at 37 to 38. But Amazon's average is at about 41 over the last 12 months. So Amazon's a little cheaper than the last year, but still over 30. All right, guys, waiting on Apple. Again, 7 minutes left, 7 minutes left. You'll know when Apple comes out too, because we'll actually get some momentum here, hopefully. Apple's very stagnant, very sideways. Again, Amazon posted 168 versus 133 second quarter EPS. Net sales or revenue of 167.7 versus 162.5 expected. Amazon Web sales 30.87 versus 30.77 expected. So Amazon basically beat everywhere. Third quarter revenue expected at 174 to 180 billion, roughly, approximately, versus 173 expected. So better than expected third quarter revenue outlook and guidance. I didn't think Amazon's numbers were bad, but tariff headwinds may be scaring people still. They also said AI progress across the board for Amazon. And so, yeah, interesting that Amazon went down. But again, the moves for earnings happened prior to the report coming out, not necessarily after the report releases, if that makes sense. Yeah, well, the mean means the average, and so the mean or average is what I said. I never said median at all. I said mean or average when I was saying it. All right, look at Apple starting to creep up a little bit. We're at almost 210s here. Reddit at 182s. All right, Apple getting a little bit of movement here. Trying to move up a little bit. 5 minutes left until they're technically scheduled to come out, but nothing yet on my across the board for me. Nothing yet. Apple slightly green on the day though. 209 is the previous close. We're at 209.60s. Yes, the president said they just made a couple other trade deals a little bit ago. He asked bank CEOs to pitch on Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac stock offerings, according to Bloomberg. Navarro also says the U.S. is moving forward on progress with India, Canada, and China. So, Lutnick also said earlier that China trade extension is up to the president. But again, Navarro said U.S. is moving forward on progress with India, Canada, and China. He's going to say that, though, regardless of whether we actually are. But I hope he's right. I hope he's right, to be honest. I would much rather us get deals done, especially with China specifically, over everybody else. Because we need China, and China needs us in terms of... We need China to help prices stabilize here in the U.S. We certainly don't want... It's okay, it's better for the U.S. long-term if we manufacture things ourselves. But short-term, there's obviously going to be some inflation impacts if we don't get a deal done with China. All right, that's why I think they prioritize the deal with China. And then China also needs us. We're the single largest buyer of Chinese goods in the world. And so no matter what they say, watch what they do, not what they say. They both want to get a deal done. Doesn't mean they will, but I'm sure they both want to. Yeah, I said mean or average. MEAN versus... which is just average. It means you add the sum and divide by the number. Basic math. All right, guys, we have technically 3 minutes left. We'll see if we'll see what Apple comes out, because we'll see the big price action pop and move. So we'll see what Apple moves here. We'll see Apple pop and move and do stuff. Yeah, 3 minutes, chat. 3 minutes. Again, Apple technically scheduled for 4:30, which is in 2.5 minutes. Let's wait. Let's watch. This music's honestly pretty good for it. All right, we're at 209.40s. Reddit at 180s. Amazon at 225s. That probably. I'm not really. Amid heightened travel warnings, there's evacuations going on. Yeah. Yeah, shout out to everybody that follows me on X.com, man. We are growing, bro. My posts have been getting some views. It's because I'm dropping these earnings early. People are searching for these earnings, and I'm giving it to them. You're welcome. Follow me on X at Beginner Trades. Do it now. All right, guys, here we go. We got about 2 minutes left. A little bit less than that, actually, until Apple is technically scheduled to come out. They might drop it. I would say a lot of the time we get about 20 seconds earlier. So I would actually look for it to come out in about 50 seconds. Or no, in about... I'm sorry, in about 1 minute exactly from now, I would expect Apple earnings to drop. But again, they could come out right after 4:30, right before 4:30. They could come out 10 minutes after. They could come out at 4:40. You never really know. It's time. We're gonna make the Apple chart really big right here. We're watching it closely. See what happens. Let's watch for movement. Reddit's still pushing towards all-time highs. All right, guys, less than a minute until they're technically scheduled to release. Less than a minute. All right, guys, here we go. Watch for the movement. All right, guys. About 20 seconds left. Hit the live button next to the play button. Put it at 2x speed. Make sure you catch up. $15 seconds. 10 seconds. All right, get ready for Apple, chat. All right, there's Apple out all the way up at 213. 213 exactly at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Waiting for Apple numbers to show up, but Apple is out. It went all the way up to 215s here. 215s for Apple. Apple came in at third quarter EPS 157 versus 143. Third quarter revenue of 94.04 versus 89 expected. Third quarter iPhone revenue 44.58 versus 40. And third quarter Greater China revenue 15.37 versus 15.19 expected. So again, Apple earnings are out. We're going to put them on our x.com page as well here for your viewing pleasure. You're welcome. And Apple's that big. Went all the way up to 215s here. Again, we'll put these numbers up. Apple puts at 157 versus 143 expected. Revenue of 94.04 versus 89.29 expected. Killed it. Gapped up a lot from this as well. Let's see if we get some momentum. But they're actually kind of starting to come down a little bit here, in all honesty. So they're starting to decrease. Here's Apple's numbers in chat right now. Are at the bottom yellow. And I'm also going to stick them in the chat as well for Apple. But there's Apple's numbers in the bottom yellow. They beat revenue, they beat EPS, came in better than expected EPS and revenue. If we dig deeper into their numbers here for Apple, 2025 quarter 3 Mac sales came in at 8.046 billion. Quarter 3 2025 iPad sales came in at 6.58 billion. Quarter 3 iPad sales, or I'm sorry, iPhone sales came in at 44.582 billion. iPad sales came in at 6.58 billion. They expected 142, they beat. Or they expected 142. They came in at 157 for EPS. Sales came in at 94 billion versus 89 billion expected. So Apple says, quote, today, Apple is proud to report a June quarter revenue record with double-digit growth in iPhone, Mac, and services growth around the world in every geographical segment, said Tim Cook at WWDC 25. We were excited to introduce a beautiful new software design that extends across all our platforms, and we announced even more great Apple Intelligence features. We are pleased with our record business performance for the June quarter, which generated EPS growth of 12%, said Kevin Parek, Apple CFO. He said, quote, our installed base of active devices also reached a new all-time high across all product categories and geographic segments thanks to our very high levels of customer satisfaction and loyalty. They declared a 26-cent per share dividend for Apple. The dividend is payable on August 14th to shareholders on record as of August 11th. So a 26-cent per share dividend. Yeah, interesting. Apple, not really a big movement here. Not really much. Reddit broke highs. Apple still at 209s. Went all the way up to 215s here. We're right at that level that we talked about, that 209 previous closing price, which is the red, the green level. And Apple, where did we bounce? We bounce right here. Again, if you want to help support your boy here in this channel, check out Top Step. If you want to learn to day trade, do not fund your own account tens of thousands of dollars trying to get around the PDT rule. It makes no sense. You don't even need 2,000. They're changing the rule to 2,000. You don't even need to risk that much. Top Step base one is $50 a month. They give you a 50K demo. They test your skill with it. You pass the test. They fund you $50,000, 90% split. You get to keep your first 10K prior to that split kicking in. If you fail, you lose $50. It's the best of both worlds. Limited risk, similar reward. And if you're good enough to pass it, you can start taking withdrawals and payouts. Some of the most reliable in the game. Top Step X has zero commission, no PDT rule in futures. You can day trade the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, Russell, gold, some currencies as well. And so I'll put this link up. They are a sponsor of mine. I am one of the most biased people ever because I get paid by them. They're a sponsor, but genuinely useful for traders. Understand all this stuff on screen. Not an investment professional. We're not liable if you lose money. Definitely biased. Don't copy us. We have no idea what we're talking about. But with that said, Apple is now trending down. It's still bouncing off of 109 here. Still bouncing off of 109. Again, there's the Top Step link at the top of the page. Apple bounced where? 209, previous closing price right here. Got as high as 215s. What's up, fake Jerome Powell? How you doing, brother? Listen, to be frank, I don't really need to hire anybody. I mean, I could reduce my taxable income. That might be good, but I don't really need to hire anybody. Sorry, bro. I've tried hiring people in the past. You know, most people that you meet in the YouTube comment section are not the most reliable people, to be honest. Some of them are good. Pawn's good. Mitch was cool. But the rest weren't really that good. Some were okay. Anyways, Aapl moving up. We're at 212s. INOD turned. Yeah, it's down to $50 a share. It's down what, like 14% right now? That's why you never bet on earnings, brother. Not you guys. Y'all are my online friends. Don't judge me. You know, you're my online friends. I'm just saying, most of the people I've tried hiring in the past are not the most reliable. It's not a blanket statement for everybody in the chat. Don't get offended. You'll be all right. Anyways, Aapl at 212s, Amazon at 227s, Reddit breaking highs after good earnings. Coinbase, where's Coinbase at right now? Coinbase down to all the way to 345s. Bounced a little bit though. It's at 357 right now. 356, 357 for Coinbase. So even Coinbase missed on literally everything. It's back up about what, 30% from where the lows, the bottom it put in. It retraced 30% of the move it on the downside it made. MicroStrategy as well, kind of flat, slightly green. Honestly, we're not really getting any big movements. Reddit had one of the bigger moves for earnings after the closing bell. All right, good remark makers, great numbers. Any of these out? Yeah, I mean GQ, you got to understand this, brother. So GQ's mad they didn't go up on good earnings. You got to understand this. The move is baked in prior to the earnings getting released. You know, like, yeah, you're not supposed to have insider information, and I'm sure all the people that bought Aapl and Amazon over the last few days, Amazon has been moving up basically since the beginning of July. Look at Amazon. The quarterly earnings are getting baked in right here, leading into the report. And so even when the report drops, we might get a little red action. Why? Because it's not that easy to make money. Again, I'll say it again. If it was as easy as sitting around waiting to click buy when something beats EPS, revenue, and guidance, I would be rich. I would never work. You wouldn't even see me. Because I just sit around waiting for earnings to drop with good EPS, good revenue, good guidance, and I just click the buy button, and I'd ride off into the sunset rich on a really expensive horse. The reason it's not like that is because the moves happen prior to the earnings getting released. You know, Aapl is trading at a little bit of a premium relative to its average for PE ratio. Amazon is as well. Or no, Amazon actually I think is a little bit underpriced relative to its average PE, but they're both above 30 for PE ratios. And so in terms of average or reasonably priced stocks, they're both a little bit above reasonably priced. But again, you got to look at future outlook and bet on the future for these companies as well. And I'm pretty bullish on Aapl and Amazon long term. Aapl has got the smartphone in the US market essentially on lock. I mean, almost everybody has an iPhone. If you don't have an iPhone, you're ostracized. Amazon has made the entire country dependent on it. You know, it's too convenient. It's too easy. You know, nobody wants to go to the store anymore. Stores are failing because mail order shipping. And Amazon's right on the front of that. So I'm not really betting against Amazon either. Both of these companies are probably going to do incredibly well long term. Short term, you never know. But both of these companies long term probably going to do incredibly well. Fair comment, but then explain Microsoft and Meta yesterday. Microsoft and Meta are both much more involved with AI than Apple and Amazon are. Much more involved with AI and artificial intelligence, which is the future. And so they're going to react positively and have a little bit more momentum, I would say, because of that specific nuance of each company. Amazon, Apple, not the biggest AI companies. You know, they're still, I mean, Apple's a little bit more than Amazon. They're both you know, doing things with AI, but not to the level at which Meta is. Certainly not to the level that Microsoft and OpenAI are doing. And so, yeah, Figma. Taking a quick look here. I forgot it's Fig. Look at the old symbol up here. Fig hit 125, 126, 27. But Apple and Amazon still doing okay. I'm going to get out of here, guys. So you listen, y'all be great. Have a great day. Be safe in markets. I love you all. You'll have a smart day. Again, remember, if you want to check out Top Step, great way to learn how to day trade when most day traders lose money. I'm not an investment professional. I'm not liable if you lose money. Don't copy me. I can't guarantee anything, chat. But hey, it's all love. I appreciate it. Y'all be great. Have a great day. Not an investment professional. Don't copy me. Again, check out Top Step if you want to help support the channel. And give me a follow on x.com at beginner trades. I appreciate it. Have a good one.